And here we are, Thursday. Week one is almost in the books. Never, ever thought that I would be doing the live show 4 days a week. Just didn't have time, right? So I found that by making time, it's actually pretty easy once you schedule it in and I committed to the fact that it's going to happen. Every Monday through Thursday, I'm going to get on and do a live show that I've prepared, and I'm improving my preparation. I'm improving the formatting, especially next week is my goal is to, have a better format set up. And there's a lot of additional kind of supporting pieces that I'm putting together as well, right? The idea being, once I grow an audience, it's not just about growing an audience. I don't want to go and, talk to people about how, I have, thousands or whatever audience members. The idea is to grow a community. Now, grow the community on jasonhobbsllc.com, which is my website, right? So the idea is be helpful in YouTube, be helpful on, in iTunes, as far as with my audio podcast and my video podcast. The idea is to be helpful first. So if I can help you tell your story, get your business online, start growing your audience, start, basically monetizing your business online. And that sounds kind of, hokey. Well, I'm going to monetize my business on, what is that? Well, it means that there's a lot of businesses that are not currently online. If they're offline and, doing business and doing well, but they're not translating it online, or they are, the business hasn't actually started because they want to take it online. They just figure back when I was a kid, obviously there wasn't a lot of, international competition, right? When you went to, apply for a job, you were competing against the local, for the most part, the local, employment pool or employee pool or whatever it's called. I can't think of it right now. And then obviously when you went, and bought something, you weren't able to tap into the international market for the most part. You were, tied to your geography, right? Well, today, obviously, that's completely out the window, completely different. So anytime that you apply for a job, you're literally competing against the world, is really the best way to put it, I guess. And then anytime that you're buying something, you have the capacity to buy from anywhere in the world. So with that competition, with the change in the market, the change in, pretty much everything, the total business environment, it's really important that you're able to, have a simple, repeatable system that allows you to grow your audience first. And then from there, start growing your community, which is, obviously, if you're a stranger, you have no clue what's going on with me, and I have no clue what's going on with you, right? And then you become aware that I exist, and that you get to choose then if you quote unquote want to become an audience member. Are you going to, and obviously there's varying degrees of audience member as well. Some are very, active and very, enthused, etc. And, others kind of tap in, tap out type of thing. For instance, Grateful Dead. If you follow the Dead, every single possible show, you're probably a pretty hardcore Deadhead, right? Whereas if you, caught a show here, or maybe you bought the bootleg, or, whatever, you're not as big of a Deadhead as the other one, right? But both of them, the Grateful Dead, obviously in that instance, would obviously appreciate both because they're both audience members, right? Okay, so we had a question, and I want to head over. I'm getting a little bit better at sharing my screen. They said it would never happen, but they were wrong. So we'll go ahead and we're going to share. So go ahead and present to everyone. And okay, so this is the back end of my Rainmaker platform website, and I'm logged in, as you can see. So it up in the upper right, it says, it greets me. And this is the dashboard, which is actually built in Rainmaker to give you as much pertinent information as possible. But we're not really going to get into that right now. Right now, I want to head over to, we'll go on over to here, and then you'll see that the first thing that shows up is today's live broadcast, and that's where it's showing it. But I wanted to show you over here, as far as Anna was kind enough to ask me a second question, so I want to make sure that I get that answered for her. So do I have any advice on identifying her weird superpower? The concept really resonated with her because she's weird as hell. Which okay, so good that you're embracing it. At the same time, let me take you back over, and just for everyone that if you're just kind of popping in, let me give you a little context. This came from Lisa Barone, who is an amazing woman, and she stutters. And she did a TEDx talk, which was, I'm sure was just shockingly frightening for her, but she killed it. And part of what she talked about is being weird and embracing it. So I just want to play a little clip from Lisa real quick. And now she stutters, so this is going to take a second, but we're going to, listen. So go ahead and, settle in for a moment. And let's let Lisa, and then as soon as it's done, I'll give my advice, which is pretty simple, pretty concise as far as for Anna, as far as how to identify what's your weird superpower, so to speak.
Weird is how you stand out. It's how you become memorable, and it's how you create a platform. All of a sudden, weird is new. Weird is the normal, because weird is unprofitable. How can you make this work for you? Okay, let's just accept the fact that you're weird. It's fine. Really, it's fine. We're also living in this world where, like, we're back in high school. Like, we want to fit in and we want to look alike. It's doing you more damage and good. Just go with it. Step 2, pinpoint what makes you weird. I personally believe that deep down, everyone knows why they're weird, right? I'm weird because I stutter. I'm weird because I collect knee socks. Like, we all have these things. Just admit them. If you want to pretend that you don't know why you're weird, then fine. Well, what is it you do when no one's watching you? What is that thing that you hold back when you first meet someone? We all have it. Your weirdness can be rooted in an experience. It can be a character trait. It can be a physical trait. It can be a strange passion. It could be that you're an extreme introvert, that you're extreme extrovert. Whatever it is. Step 3, find a way to.
Okay, so she walks through. Okay, so Lisa in that clip, she's walking through, ways to look at, identifying your weird superpower is kind of how I put it. And I guess the best way to put it is, it's what you're embarrassed about. I don't think that, stuttering and knee socks, collecting knee socks, that she's as, embarrassed the same amount about each, but that is, she embraces the fact that this is different from what everybody else would, deem normal, right? With me, it's more of, I guess the biggest thing that I walk away with is just, I take everything personally. And with business, I'm 41, so 23 years now in business, I've been told by everyone who has, ever come in contact with me in a business environment that was, decided to offer me an opinion, not to take it personally. It's business. It's not personal. It is personal for me, and it always has been. And I can, ignore the fact that I don't care what you think or he thinks or she thinks or they think or whatever about me as a person, but about me and my business, I put my name on it, jasonhobbsllc.com. I did that for a specific reason, which is because I take it personally. And I didn't really realize at the time that I was actually embracing what, one of the things that makes me weird, right? And that is different, that automatically completely puts me against or sets me off against everyone else in, any other competition, right? Any other competition, they're going to, oh, well, business is personal for the most part. And with me, I'm saying, no, they're saying business isn't personal, and I'm saying business is personal, if I didn't make that clear. So that's my advice, is think about it from this perspective. What's going to embarrass you that people know? One thing that that's what embarrasses me, or it used to really bad, was, I had to defend that business is personal for me. Oh, and that was something that kind of worried me. So number two thing that makes me completely weird, and that I don't tell anyone but my mom, is that I talk to my animals. And I honestly think, like, I understand their personalities and so forth, and I can kind of, you're around them. I'm around them a lot. And I have 3 dogs, and I have 1 cat provisor, Darcy. And she's off somewhere licking her wounds because she pulled the fan down on her almost, and freaked out, obviously. Freaked me out too. But I talk to them, and because, and in my mind, they kind of talk back to me. So that's going to come up in this, because I like to, they're funny. When I translate my animals for my mom, she laughs a lot of times. And I don't know if she's laughing with me or at me. She probably is laughing at me, let's be honest. But that's another thing, another superpower. But it's something that I want to use to my advantage, because there's a lot of other people that are big time, animal lovers as well. And they're not going to flip out because they've had, they understand their dog, or they understand their cat, or their, plural, cats and dogs, or whatever, but they understand them. So, and they understand, okay, well, obviously, dude, really likes his animals. So, that's a way to relate. Maybe there is another person out there that's weird, that thinks that they're the Dr. Doolittle as well. Not that mine actually talk. Let me be very clear, they do not talk. It's all mental telepathy type stuff. We speak without moving our lips. So but yeah, find it and embrace it. And because end of the day, you are who you are, and I am who I am. So you kind of got to dance with the one that brung you, right? If you have something that's different, why not use it as a selling point, so to speak? So, okay, so I wanted to move into another piece, and what I wanted to talk about was, okay, so week 1 is in the books with this live episode, and I'm creating 120 minutes of live content over the 4 days of the week, right? And I'm talking about specific subjects. Obviously, I'm working to improve, how many subjects and how well I cover them, etc. And obviously, if you do have questions, please feel free to use Swappin Stories. That's no G, Swappin, SWAPPIN, Stories, plural, STORIES. Hashtag that on Twitter, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. I'd love to. I'm sitting here just dying, waiting for you to ask me a question. So, I've answered honest, and then if you have others about swapping stories, about telling your story, about getting your story out there, about, what do I do? How do I do it? Well, ask, but also keep in mind, if you have those questions, I'm giving away a free course. You don't even have to introduce yourself. Like, strangers will be able to get the entirety of my free course, and it will be using Rainmaker platform. But what I'm going to do more importantly is I'm going to explain to you how I am telling my story. So what I'm doing is I'm putting together piece by piece the various steps. And what is that kind of, if you're going to use a buzzword or some keywords or whatever, what would some be? Well, the first one would be syndication, content syndication. Because if you create content on your website, which obviously that's where you want, you don't want a sharecrop, but you can also syndicate that content onto Medium. onto LinkedIn. Obviously, these are going up on YouTube. I'm putting all of my podcast, audio and video podcasts on iTunes, which iTunes and YouTube are really just huge search engines, a la Google and Bing, but they are more focused specifically on the video and the audio, right? So if you're creating video and audio, then those are definitely two search engines that you're going to want to use to your advantage. So let me run over to this, and I want to run through. Okay, so this is the lead, and it is Jared Morris, the VP of everything Rainmaker, or VP of marketing with Rainmaker.fm, and Damian Farnsworth is the chief copywriter for Copyblogger. Okay, and they've been doing the lead for quite some time. What the most recent episode, they've started in the last couple episodes, they've started a series on syndication, content syndication. So let me go ahead and set up this little piece I'm going to play from their most recent episode where they're talking about repurposing content on LinkedIn. And at this point, it's about 6 minutes and 42 seconds in. They've gone through the intro, etc. There's been a little bit of banter. Part of it was Damian wrote I don't know if it was a rap or a song or what, but he wrote it for Jared and Jared's fiance. And if you haven't met Jared's fiance, just go to Showrunner. And he did one of the shows. I think the first show he interviewed her, and then another time he did a short, one of the bonus episodes that was where he talked about how he proposed to her. And this was basically taking his talk at Authority Rainmaker Conference in Denver, Colorado, a couple of weeks ago, at an opera theater. I think it's an opera theater there. Beautiful. And I didn't go. I wasn't able to go, but I was able to catch his Showrunner short, which was actually like an hour and 20 minutes. But he told his story. He gave the same, actually a little bit more so, but he gave the same presentation that he gave there. And it, which the point being, he walked around, he walked through he used his experience, the engagement experience for his girlfriend or fiance, and I cannot remember her name off the top of my head. But he used it to explain how he created an experience for her. And that is basically what you're doing when you're creating a podcast, is what he's talking about. But really, if you're creating any kind of content for your customers, you're creating an experience for your customers. So I've digressed a bit, but we're back over here, and Damian did a song, and it was pretty funny. And so they've just finished the song, and basically poor Jared's kind of picked himself back up off the floor, and so we'll go ahead and pick up from there.
Alex, originally I had there was enough PCP in here to fly a kite, but I thought,
oh yeah, he had a drug reference or something. I mean, very mild. It was funny. It was hilarious, actually. In the the thing that he wrote, and Jared was like, "Well, we might have to clean it up some," but and Damian says, "Well, I did have the PCP, enough PCP in here to file whatever," and so basically it had been worse, but he had already kind of whittled it down some. So.
Yeah, that's great. We will we'll get that added to the set list.
All right, now that we got that taken care of, my friend, let's get into the meat of this topic. So the last time we talked about content syndication, we talked about the proper way to grow an audience on Medium, like I said, and Medium allows you to publish content you've already published elsewhere. So we're just talking about, when we talk about content syndication, we're talking about republishing content. And so as a refresher, content syndication is an age-old idea of taking an original piece of work and then trying to get it published in other places.
Okay, so content syndication is taking an original piece of work and trying to get it published in other places. So for instance, if you for instance, with Copyblogger, actually Damien, and I don't know if we'll play the clip far enough to where he'll actually get to this example, but he does touch on an example where they may have, a post that they'll put up on Copyblogger, and they'll wait a period of time, and then they'll say that there are slides, like a PowerPoint slide presentation or whatever that's associated with it, or maybe they create a PowerPoint slide presentation from the information covered in that blog post, and then they'll wait a little while, and then they'll put the slide presentation up on SlideShare. So once again, they're syndicating that content by repurposing it. So I'll go back to Damien.
And when I say other places, you look for bigger sites to publish your work on, and that'll be kind of like a recurring theme here. It's like you go from, you're the small fry, you go to the big fry, you go up the food chain. So, for example, you take an article from your personal site, Primility, and you try to get it on Fast Company.
Okay, so Primility is Jared's side project, and it's the intersection of pride and humility. And he sends out a blog post every Sunday to everyone, and he actually had bands made. I'm one of them, or I have one, early 30. I think he was going for 1,000 of them. We'll have to check in to see where he's at. But okay, so that was Primility. Let me get back to Damien.
Or Lifehacker, Huffington Post, or Time. And so publishing already published content on social sites like Medium is a distant cousin to this idea. So that's what we're tackling. We did Medium, now we're going to do LinkedIn. In all these situations, it allows you to expand your audience.
That is the key. In all of these instances, you're growing your audience. Now, keep in mind that your audience is, if you are able to tap into, let's say, you may have heard of guest posting back in the day. So if I have a blog and I go post something, my best content, a really good, unique article on the Copyblogger blog, right? Then that guest post is me being able to introduce myself to the Copyblogger audience, so that hopefully there will be a portion of that audience that is actually also my core audience member, who didn't know about me. Now they know about me, right? So the idea is you are sharing, or you're using other people up the food chain, the bigger audiences, to introduce yourself, to identify, let people self-identify that they are now that they're also part of your audience. And it's not a zero-sum game. So I can be in, Damien and Jared's audience, but I can also be in Copyblogger's audience, because that's how I first found out about them. I can also, you know what I mean? So it's not a zero-sum game. If you're in one audience, it does not exclude you from being in another for the most part. Obviously, with some obvious, distinctions there, or exceptions to the rule. But let me get back to Damien.
So the same is true for LinkedIn. Once LinkedIn opened its publishing platform to everyone, it encouraged you to go in there and publish, republish old content.
So you say open its publishing platform to everyone. So so everyone can publish now on LinkedIn? Was there a time when not?
Yeah, there was a time when they just allowed this quote unquote influencers to do it, sort of, the big names, because they just wanted to get some traction and see how it, built up an audience and stuff. And then I think last year, maybe early last year, they opened it up to everybody, and they started giving like selective invitations out. You had to sort of like apply, and then they gave it to you. But I'm pretty sure everybody can publish now. So. All right, and so one person who is killing it on LinkedIn is Gregory Ciotti. And I say that, Gregory he's the director of marketing at Help Scott, and so is tasked with growing your.
Okay, Gregory Ciotti is the marketer at Help Scout, and I've been a huge fan of his for years. I found him through one of his guest posts on Copyblogger, and he's the person that finally quantified the new 4 P's of marketing for me. I've been trying to narrow them down, or basically chase them down, and with very little success, I might add. Now the 4 P's previous were product, place, price, and promotion. And Gregory said that these days it's solution, access, value, education, which he was dead on. So, and he's been doing really well on LinkedIn, specifically for for I can't even think of Help Scout, where he handles the marketing for. So that's the person that Damien is kind of using as the example here.
Audience. And last time we talked about Medium, Sean Smith was our example of someone who was doing well in that space. And I like Gregory's story because he's an average guy like you and me. He's got he's a peer in a sense, unlike these influencers who can publish a post and get 500,000 views every day. But Gregory is certainly pulling his weight. He's not getting that, but he's definitely pulling his own weight.
Yeah, and he is, and a lot of people will know Gregory from a lot of the guest posts that he's written on Copyblogger too. He's written some great guest posts on Copyblogger. Now, when you say the word influencers, what do you mean by that?
So exactly like what it sounds. The celebrities of the business world, people like Jeff Hayden and Dharmesh Shah from HubSpot, Bill Marriott, high-profile people. People like Jeff Hayden, though, is a writer like you and me. He just bootstrapped himself to the Gregory's story, and I said, okay, I'm gonna get this a shot. I don't know how it happened, but I was like, okay, I don't have enough to do, so I'm going to start publishing posts there. Well, and part of it, I was encouraged by Gregory's story because he was saying, a minimal investment to republish on there, sort of same as Medium. So I get.
So what do you mean is a minimal investment? Is that it doesn't take a ton of additional time to repurpose that content over there. Let's see. Okay, so what is the point? Well, with syndication, the point is that you can now tap into other larger audiences where you don't have to actually ask for permission. If you're going to go and put together a blog post or podcast or whatever that you're going to give as a guest post, so to speak, for somebody else, you're going to have to get their permission, right? And then they're going to have to edit it, and it's going to take time. It's going to take effort, etc. Whereas if I go republish something, or publish something, republish something on LinkedIn, it doesn't take as long. So there's a smaller investment, but at the same time, you can get just as good of a benefit from actually repurposing your content. So, and this all kind of ties in together because part of what I'm explaining in Storytelling 101 is my syndication, how I'm doing what I'm doing. Now, next week is when I'm finally going to be able to kick off the Monday through Friday, by 3 p.m. I have the audio podcast and I have the video podcast that are going to go into iTunes. Okay, but I'm creating those largely from the 30-minute live broadcast that I'm doing 4 different days a week, Monday through Thursday from 8:30 a.m. till 9 a.m. Eastern time. The idea being, everyone says that they don't have time to create content, especially great content. So what I wanted to show was that that's not true. You do have time. You just have to be smart about it. You have to do a little planning. And if you have some understandings that you can maybe learn from my mistakes, then you're going to be able to do it a lot quicker and get to the results a lot quicker. So, but like with everything, this is a long-term play. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's not going to, you're not going to get 1 million subscribers by the end of the 3rd day. It doesn't work like that. It works by, you're going to have some great content. But what's great content? It's something that your audience resonates with, that they are excited about, and that they are able to get something positive out of. If they're able to walk away from your content, it could be written form, it could be video, it could be audio, it doesn't matter. If you have positively impacted them, and it could be that they just carry away more confidence. It could be that they carry away a bit more motivation, a bit more belief in themselves, or obviously they could walk away with some steps or a plan or a checklist or whatever. But the idea is that's what good content is. It's not for everyone. It's for your audience. I don't do this for everyone. Jared Morris, Damian Farnsworth, those guys, they're not my audience. You are. I'm here to help you get your business up and running, and that's the whole point behind your content creation. So I'm taking the next 3 days, quote unquote, off, but I'm really not, because what I'm going to be doing is putting together, or continuing to put together, Storytelling 101. And I'm going to give it away for free. You won't have to sign up or anything like that. I really want competition. I want you to do what I'm doing, but try and do it better than me. And I want to be able to help you do it. The idea is the more people that I help, I know that it's going to take care of all of the goals and the plans and the needs, etc., that I have. So I really appreciate you, stumbling in, taking the time. 4 are in the books. Haha. I don't care what they say. They can never take this from us. So, I appreciate your time again. And it's a little bit after 9:01. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I will see you Monday, 8:30 a.m. If you want to have my biggest learning from the week in your mailbox by the time you wake up on Monday morning, head over to jasonhobbsllc.com/wait, WAIT-list, LIST. And if you scroll straight down, you'll see in about halfway or a third down the page, there's going to be an opt-in form. It only goes to MailChimp. It'll put you on my list on MailChimp. You're not, a member of my site or anything like that. You don't have to worry about that. All that I want to do is just email you once a week. If you feel like that could be helpful, that's where you sign up. So I appreciate your time. Have a great day. Have a fantastic weekend. And I'll see you Monday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time.